This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Thrive, Boosting Immunity, Small Changes for a Greater Impact, brought to you by Restore Resilience, powered by Zillion. We thank you again for sponsorship and participation in this event. We are going to ask everyone to actually just mute themselves for the first 10, 15 minutes of the portion, and then please do chime in later. But I'm introduction, as I think all of you who've been coming to the previous weeks. For those new people or new attendees, we just want to do a quick little intro about the WWCMA. If many of you don't know, we are the Worksite Wellness Council of Massachusetts, which is the premier thought leadership and employee well-being. And our mission is to provide programs, networking, and resources to help organizations cultivate and sustain a thriving culture. And we like to connect, collaborate, and learn from each other and share industry best practices. Again, I'm just going to ask everyone to kind of mute themselves for the first 10 minutes just so we can make sure that everybody can hear. So we like to provide programs such as this one, upcoming programs and webinars that can provide you the opportunity to not only learn, but share and connect. We always like to thank our sponsors. We have our corporate and our conference sponsors. They're a great way to elevate your brand and show your commitment to worksite wellness. As you see, we have several different levels. And if you're interested or need more information, please don't hesitate to contact Phil Bean. He's our vice chair at sponsors@wwcma.org. We have lots of different options for sponsorship. And thanks to our sponsors, we have this very useful COVID-19 resources page. Really adding to it, we recently just added another tab, and this provides sharing in personal well-being, employer services, sponsor resources that help your employees navigate this different time right now. We have just a reminder, community. Next week will be our last session on social connection. They are again, very similar format to this. If you still haven't registered, please do so. And as I said, more information can be found at wwcma.org. One of the ways that you can access some of these presentations, if you don't already know, and previous presentations and programs and webinars, is by becoming a member. We have lots of services, lots of opportunities to connect again. And if you join today, you get 3 months. 3 free months. That's a tongue twister. Just use the promo code or check out wwcma.org to learn more. Our housekeeping items, you see your mute button. We have our webcam. We love to see you. Don't feel like you can put questions or comments. Myself or Terry will be checking those. And then at the end, we'll do some Q&A through there. Or please feel free to unmute yourself and we can enjoy the conversation. This session will also be recorded and available on our member portal. Lastly, I'm a holistic health coach and founder of Your Wellness Scout. I'm also the director for the WWCMA Education and Events Committee. I have about 17 years experience in industry, and I put my passion into play when I saw how when you focus on health and do for you, I love to constantly provide people ways and employees and employers to balance and miss competing priorities. So without further ado, I would love to jump into, this is one of my area of specialty, which is boosting immunity. So let's just go ahead and get started. I always like to start this with this lifestyle approach, just as a reminder that all these pieces affect well-being, not only your worksite well-being, your personal well-being, and that your well-being affects you. And when you're looking at wellness, it's really helpful to understand that just making little tweaks in all these areas can help you learn how to thrive and respond to situations or say less negative manner. So we're going to talk about how to incorporate each of these elements so that you can learn how to thrive. And as we always say, pass this information on to your colleagues, your employees, your employers, and we love to share this information about what you can do. So immunity. here. Immunity. I think a lot of you know what immunity is, but if you aren't sure, technically being immune is the condition of being able to resist disease or by counteracting the effects of its products. And note, this also means that toxins reduce your immunity. So it helps kind of like put war on your immunity so that it makes it difficult for your body to ward off diseases. And the reason why we're going to talk about immunity, I want to refresher, because to help understand how it's more of a, it's not just about, you know, a one-off solution, like taking a medicine or, you know, taking zinc or, you know, staying warm. It's a lot of different aspects to your body. An immune system, if many of you don't know, is the main purpose of the immune system is to protect your body from viruses and bacteria. Your immune system works by recognizing the difference between your body cells and alien cells, and then, you know, destroying those. So like autoimmune diseases, you know, we've always heard this word immunity, and immune, and it's oftentimes the interplay of your own body with foreign substances. So quick little overview about that. And then the next aspect is what organs and body parts are part of your immune system. If this was a much longer session, I'd sit here and get a lot of different responses, but again, we'll talk about this later. But you know, it's not just your lungs, it's not just, you know, your nasal passages. Your immune system is all over your body. It's your skin, your thymus, your lymph nodes, your mucous membranes, your bowels, your spleen, your bone marrow, your skin. And that's why I have the little image up there, and maybe you've seen others, where your immune system is, you know, all over your body. And if many of you don't know, the largest percentage of your immune system is represented in your gut. So that is why a healthy gut is so important. And this isn't just going to be about nutrition too. This is going to talk about the interplay of three main areas that affect your immunity, that have very much connected to this lifestyle approach. So gut health is another whole topic we could spend another hour on, and we're not going to, but we're just going to touch upon it briefly to understand. Again, as I said, you know, it's not just about taking vitamin C. It's about building up a barrier and a stronghold within your body so that you can better protect yourself and fight off foreign substances, or, you know, resist diseases and those types of things. So it can be represented in, as what I'm going to talk about, diet, sleep, and mental health. So diet, and again, we're going to go through these, you know, these are just kind of conversation starters. We're going to talk at the end about your ways, thoughts, and comments. So very quickly, you know, diet, you know, what do you feed your body to keep it healthy? You know, what do you feed your gut? You know, we talked about 70% of your immune system is in your gut. You know, real food, greens, low sugar, water, probiotics. And again, I'm not going to go through a diehard list of what you should or shouldn't eat or what's harmful for your gut. It's kind of thinking about it. What I like to think about it is a garden. When you have Roundup, so you use some like toxins, or you're taking too much maybe processed foods, you know, the bugs, or there's too much bad bacteria, or there's too many weeds, right, in your garden, what happens? It's kind of overrun. That's kudzu. It's messy, you know, it can't really fight off things. You got all this, you know, bad growth, right? But a healthy garden, which has helpful, fertilize with natural manure, tend to the garden, got good, you know, good bugs in there, you have a beautiful garden, right? So if you think of your body as a garden and tending your garden, you might think about the things that you're not only putting into it, but help it rest, help it grow, help it restore, and help clean it. So it's not just what goes in, what comes out. It's more of a holistic idea of tending your garden, right? And I actually will say, you know, that we can look at a garden in various ways, and that's how you need to look at your body too. One way of tending a garden for, you know, let's say a garden in the Northwest, which is actually a Japanese garden that I visited in the Northwest, that's going to have a different approach than, let's say, a garden in the Southeast, right? And so our bodies are like that in different ways. There are some overarching principles, but then when it comes to the uniqueness of your flora and fauna, you might need some different probiotics, prebiotics, and those things. So that's why I love the garden analogy. But overall, we think about adding a healthy diet, fermented foods, fat, and fiber. And those are great ways to think about it. Try chewing your food, eat mindfully, and manage stress. And those things help your digestion. They help you pause. They help indigestion. And they help manage the stress that often happens if you feel like you're overeating or you know, indulge too much. And then try to reduce toxins, inflammatory foods, sugar, alcohol, and processed foods. So that's a very quick, diet, thinking of it as a garden and tending it properly. Now, what about sleep? Sleep before COVID-19 may have been really sketchy. Maybe after sleep, maybe some of you have been getting a little bit more sleep. I've heard recently that people are actually catching up on it. So what are we going to do when we all get back to normal, right? Well, maybe we can incorporate some elements of sleep. Or maybe you're working way too late into the hours because you're juggling too many responsibilities during the day. So the purpose of sleep is to repair the body, restore, and rejuvenate. It's also to scrub the brain. What happens when you get poor sleep? I'm not going to talk about like the irritability and all that. Let's talk about the long-term consequences. There's critical thinking diminishes, depression, anxiety, forgetful, just grumpy attitude. You get accidents, risk for disease. These are all not helping your immunity, right? When you get little sleep, I've noticed when I've had periods of time when I have a lot less sleep, I get sick right away. Why? Because the body is the time where it repairs, rejuvenates, it scrubs your brains of stressors and agitation. So it helps your mental health and it helps your physical health, right? We always want children to get their sleep when they're sick. When you're sick, you want to get your sleep. It helps repair your body, but you should also be looking at getting your sleep even when you're not directly sick. I always love this quote, sleep is the best meditation, by the Dalai Lama. Another interesting thing, we're all into, just quick aside, collagen. I realized too, did you know that, not enough sleep releases cortisol? And cortisol is a hormone, which is the fight or flight hormone. It breaks down collagen. So for those of you all ingesting collagen, just want to remind you, maybe try to get some sleep. Health cycle of poor sleep. I presented this at a presentation all about sleep, with a lot of companies, a lot of employees, they don't get enough sleep. You wake tired, you eat poorly, over-caffeinate, stay up too late, restless night, the cycle begins again, right? And then what happens is you're reducing your immunity on two ways. You're not allowing your body to rest and repair. And then second of all, you might eat poorly and indulge more in things that kind of give you that wake me up, pick me up, feel good feeling. I don't know about you, when I've not had a good night's sleep, I often do go for more of the high glycemic, carb, sugary food. I don't go for that, right? And you don't care. So these are the things to think about with poor sleep. I love this quote too, is because the best bridge between despair and hope is a good night's sleep. That's a good segue to our next portion about mental health. I don't know about you, but I'm a little done with fear, and I'm a little done with anxiety, and I'm a little done with this hope and despair. And I think sometimes getting a good night's sleep is a good way just to reset yourself and say, how should I take a look at this? How should I reframe myself? How should I reframe that mindset that we talked about in the last week's session? Sometimes sleep gives you that good baseline to think about life in a little bit different way. So lastly, mental stress. I don't know if any of you, realize that maybe you were surprised that I'd be talking about mental and stress in immunity, but I find the two are very closely linked. And sometimes that's where you take a step back and think, the last time I got sick, was I really stressed out? Was I overworked? Was I overtired? Just think about that, and think about that again, we forget that it's there's a lot of different factors that can affect all the different parts in your body that does affect your immunity. So what is the connection between immunity and mental health? Well, one is a physiological response. When you're stressed and you get anxious, there's the fight or flight response, there's the brain, all these adrenal hormones and cortisol hormones are released in the body. And then they sit in your body too long if you stay in that stressed, anxiety-ridden state, and your hormones hijack your emotions and you're all into that chaotic feeling, and that stays in your body too long, and that has some chronic long-term effects on your body, right? And there's gut health. It can affect heart disease. It can affect susceptibility to illnesses because your body is not in that flourishing garden state. It's in a hyper stressed state. Another way that we talked about, that's the physiological response. Then there's the mental response. Talking about it in the flip side of when you have positivity, gratitude, breathing, serotonin, happiness, laughter, those things relax your body, they reset your body, they reduce the adrenal gland hormone response, they reduce the cortisol response. the serotonin is, goes off. They've even talking about it in the blue zones, individuals and communities that live longest. What do they have in there? They have connectivity, and they have a lot of happiness too. So, and it doesn't mean happy like you're, skipping down the street happy all the time. You can be, it just means that you have not a stressed, maybe a negative fear-based outlook, right? Your forward movement, your morale, and you're fearless, not fearful. And it's looking at understanding how your mental outlook can have that not only physiological response, but that it reduces the more positive and gratitude oriented reduces that anxiety rate, which again, of course, has that physiological response. So it's how the mind-body connection, mind over matter. It's the idea that, of course, when you're more positive, that it will provide the necessary domino reaction in your body, which again affects your immunity, right? If you're tight and your stomach gets all clenched up and you're not eating or eating poorly, that again affects your nutrient absorption and all those things, which then affect, have a cascading results. So one of the things I'm going to end with, and I'd love to jump right into discussion. Overall, that's a lot of information, but it's more about thinking about your body as a garden, cultivating it. Just always think, how can I reduce inflammation, right? A lot of disease responses are inflammatory based, even the recent one too. So it's diet, exercise, mental health, keep your body in a low inflamed state, and trust your body's immunity. Trust your body, and that will help you feel that, okay, I can take on, I know my proper skills, I know what I need to do, I have gratitude, I know about sleep, I can handle what comes down the road. And breathing, modeling to others, show them how, show by example to your kids, your spouses, your friends, how a strong immunity can keep you in a, let's say, a positive mental state as well. So that's, again, I've looked at immunity in several different ways. There's so much more information out there. You could Google immunity and you could find all the information you want. But I would love to hear from you a couple of things. I would love to hear from you all, what are some of your best immune boosting practices? What are some that maybe you've integrated into wellness programs? Do any of these resonate with your family, friends, or colleagues? I have a couple discussion questions up here to kind of get it going, but I think the best thing would be to share. I know a lot of people are on here to hear from others about what their practices are. So whether it's individual or a group practice, would love to hear what some of your immune boosting practices are and if any of these resonated with you. So take a minute to think, and then please unmute yourself, or if you don't feel comfortable speaking up, please feel free to put it in the chat box. Anyone have any?
This is Janet. Thank you, Kirsten. You offer some really valuable information, really valuable fundamental information we can apply. I have a comment and a question. Mm-hmm. My comment, what have I integrated into my daily routine that helps me stay well, both mentally and physically? And that's 20 minutes of meditation in the morning. It's the simplest thing to do, and I feel the effects all day long. I feel I'm calmer, I'm more focused, I feel better just from the 20 minutes of meditation. Sometimes it isn't even that long. I feel as if it gives my brain a time to reset, relax, be prepared for the day. The question I have is, could you talk about the relationship between spending time on our digital devices at night and getting a good night's sleep?
Yes, I actually have a whole presentation on that called Sleep is Not Overrated and Screen Time, two different ones. But very quickly, the thought process behind that is too much screen time. There's a mental and physiological response. The physiological is the blue light, too much of the background light that can be fixed on some phones, but too much of that affects your melatonin, which then affects your ability to fall asleep and stay in a sustained sleep. The second part to that is when you're off and on your device, you may either be working, you're looking at Facebook, which has some other, some pros and cons effects, or you unless you're maybe reading, there's a lot of things you're doing on there that could be stimulating your brain in a way that would impede your sleep, whether in the middle of the night or later on, or right away, and not enable you to fall asleep. So if let's say you're looking at Facebook or social media, and then there's this whole comparison, oh, well, they were doing this, or now life is like this, or and then you start ruminating, and your mind is way too active. So those are the two very large reasons why screen time before bed is starting to be something that we're trying to step away from.
So how you might have said this, but you broke up a little bit. How much time do you allow between the time we close down our computer or close down our digital devices and go to sleep?
I usually say about 30 minutes, at minimum. Some say an hour, but I think anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour.
Okay, thank you.
You can do other things like meditate, or read a paper book, or listen to music.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Others, comments on that meditation? What do you do for your immune boosting? What helps you feel that you have a strong immune system? Or is there something that you saw in here that really resonated and you'd like to maybe add into your wellness program or your life, and you would love to hear how others have done it? That's another thought.
This is Cynthia. I had two things. I put it in the chat box. I think one thing that really helps me and my clients is just focusing on healthy diet. And when I say healthy, what I'm focusing on is antioxidants. So lots of fruits and vegetables, making sure you're getting, as many of those as you can. So that's probably like my number one thing. Is diet, really focusing on. A lot of Americans just don't get enough fruits and vegetables. And the other thing is more of a mind-body thing, definitely meditation, key. And the other thing I've been focusing on for the past year or so that I really encourage my clients to do as well is, positive affirmations, especially right now. I have an app called Think Up. It's called Think Up. It's a free app, great app. And basically, you record your own voice saying positive affirmations. And I think, having a positive mindset, either before you go to bed or when you wake up or even throughout the day, you can listen to it. I think it's really great, now or anytime, to have a positive mindset. So those are probably my two main takeaways.
Great. Yeah, and I know that people may be concerned about fruits and vegetables now too, going to the grocery store. There are still a lot of, I know Boston Organics had to limit and waitlist because we got so many people, but there's other grocery stores and there's a lot of other farm services that are providing fruits and vegetables that you can get a lot of them.
Definitely. I also do frozen, as much as I don't like that as much as fresh, or, third would be canned, but first fresh. And then if you can't get that, frozen veggies work. And then if not, you can go for the can. So at least it's better than nothing.
Yep. No, that's so true. That's so true. And I love your positive affirmation thing because, I think also too, you think about it for yourself, but when you tell others, or when you mentioned about sharing with others, you're modeling that. So for instance, my daughter this morning, we had knocked over a frame about a couple weeks ago for cleaning, and it's all cracked, and it's a wedding photo. And it's a pretty frame. And I was like, oh, we can't use this. We were doing some rubbings and we used a frame. And I said, oh, we can't use it because it's cracked. And she turns to me and she says, but you have to look at it. It's not totally broken, that we can't use it. And I was like, aw, and she's 5. And I thought to myself, yes, okay. For a child who's starting to get anxiety ridden and we're starting to have troubles, which maybe some of you have seen with your children, maybe it's just mine. It was wonderful to hear her take a positive way of looking at something, right? Because that, it made us both smile and said, oh, okay. And you don't realize that reaction your body has. So yeah, positive affirmations. It was called Think Up, Cynthia. Is that what it was called?
Yes, Think Up app. I absolutely love it. It's so great. And you can record your own voice saying all different types of affirmations. You can do your own, or they give you a whole slew of affirmations. And it's just awesome. I really like it.
Nice. Great. Any others have, maybe they've done in their wellness programming, or maybe have you seen actually noticed a difference in your illness, maybe, or disease management when you've had poor diet or sleep or stress. I know I've started to try to get my husband on this apple cider vinegar, lemon juice tonic, and green juice thing in the morning because he's stressed and feels like he's put on weight and all these things, and he's afraid of getting sick. I'm saying afraid. I'm saying no fear. We all use that word way too much, afraid.
Kirsten, this is Hillary. I'm wondering what you think about the use currently of so much hand sanitizer and disinfectant. And, you know, I try to, you know, grow my garden in a healthy way, my microbiome. And I've always heard that the use of disinfectants, hand sanitizers is really counterproductive. So I'm wondering if there's going to be sort of a more susceptibility for us for other viruses and bacteria now that we're sort of overusing these products now, trying to prevent the COVID. So I don't know if you can speak to that, but I'm just sort of thinking out loud to myself about that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. You know, anyone else have any thoughts on that? I'm not an expert, but I do have some thoughts, but I would love to hear others' thoughts on that if that's, you know.
It's Terry, I have a little thing on that, just so you know. So the challenge is antibacterials that you don't really want to use, but when you're using the hand sanitizers, which is just alcohol, especially for COVID, totally fine. I mean, you can get into the whole like overly clean down the road, blah, blah, blah. But for purpose of this, certainly the alcohol is great. And it's not the same thing as using the antibacterials where you get that resistance from the bacteria. I don't know if that helps at all, Hillary.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's what you were thinking.
Definitely. We don't want to we don't want to swing too far in one direction where, you know, our natural immune system is not working the way it should.
Well, and also think of it as that should be used only in place of washing your hands. And I think they've always said that, like, if you're out and you don't have gloves on or you can't wash your hands, you use that quickly, you know, maybe, you know, lightly, and then you wash your hands more thoroughly in the full way. But like if you're at home, don't use antibacterial. Not to use it at all, wash your hands. But that's a really good point. And it makes sense, Terry, you were saying about alcohol. That's why the distilleries are often providing alcohol. They're switching their production to these alcohol. We've heard of that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw the thing, do not use Tito's vodka as a hand wash.
Any other thoughts on that? That's a very good question, Hillary. Good point. How many of you like been cultivating your garden? I think hopefully it's a good analogy to help you think about that, and to think about it in an easy way of just stoking the garden in a well manner. And it's hard when you're at home, and sometimes there's temptations, or there's this desire for comfort and happiness, which we often find through things that aren't necessarily the best for us, which is why sometimes we need to push ourselves to do more meditation or yoga, or, you know, those things, we get into them and then they end up, the effects of them have a lot of positive benefits for us. And anyway, maybe if anyone would like to share what they would, if they could add one thing, what would it be? Or is there one thing that they're going to take away from this and share with their friends, family, employees, employers, you know, something that they feel they could readily do tomorrow?
Hey, Kristen, it's Eric. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you guys. Yeah, actually, I would like to add, my sister-in-law is at home with the kids and her husband, and they actually came up with an awesome plan this morning that I want to share. They came up with a gym class schedule as part of the rotation, and the way that they did it was they wrote out 8 exercises that she took from her boot camps, and they put them in a basket, and they have 2 boys, 11 and 8. And they have way too much energy, but they don't really use it in the basement. So they put all these exercises in a basket, and they both take turns going to the basket. If they pull out one, as soon as they do the exercise, whatever it is, they can throw it away. And the object is to go back and forth until the basket is empty. And it really, I don't know if it counts as immunity, but exercise, getting yourself motivated at home. I know that we can do yoga classes. You know, I have a bike that I have on a trainer that I keep riding like a maniac, especially during rainy days. But, you know, I thought that was an awesome way that stay-at-home parents can get involved with their kids, go down the basement and make it fun to have gym class, which I don't know if parents, you know, like kids can run around the house and beat the hell out of the house or beat each other up or whatever, to try and make it constructive and fun. I just thought that was a really cool thing that you shared with us today.
That's great. Anyone have comments or thoughts on that? I think that's great, and I have some, but I would love to hear from anyone else. I mean, I think I didn't talk about exercise, and when I was doing the diet portion, I was like, I should talk about exercise, but then this is starting to get past the time length. But exercise is definitely true. Vigor, you know, which I think a lot of people during this time have had this really hard problem sometimes with the stay at home, because you know, you need to get out and get your blood moving. You need to get some type of the oxygenation. It helps you, and it actually wards off a lot of you know, illnesses, and again stokes that garden. But that's a great idea to keep the variety up there. And does your sister-in-law do the exercises with them, or is it just the kids?
Yeah, actually, oh, there I am. It was great because part of the exercises was, one of them is pick up a medicine ball and do this exercise, and Dad will show you how, which is great. So Dad had to be in the gym class and show them how to do each exercise. So they're involved. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And I think, so I think they like traded off doing whatever the kid picked. Mom or Dad did it with one or the other. So everybody's down in the basement at a scheduled time. They do it twice a day to do a 20-minute gym class.
That's great. Well, and you know what's nice about that is there's some family time built in, and they've talked about that too. That this is a unique time where now families are getting so much time together that that it has so many positive benefits, and that's that's reframing your mind. The mindset we talked about last week is there's a positive that's come from that. We did the same thing with our family. We go to this empty field on Saturday morning, early in the morning, and my daughter now participates in this, you know, little sports boot camp thing we do. We would have never done that if this hadn't happened. And now we're doing this outdoor exercise, and it's a lot of fun, and it's different, and your body's being used in a different way, and she's seeing us exercise, which is good, and she's running around herself. So now your sister-in-law's family, they're having this great opportunity to connect, which is another benefit, as well as get some exercise in. Helpful for your sanity too.
That's the other point I was going to say. It's fun, you know, and like to sit around the house all day, especially with this rain, and you know, and there's nothing really on TV that anybody wants to see, you know, unless you're watching Netflix or whatever. But it's just a fun way for the family to do something positive, fun, and enjoyable together, you know. And it doesn't necessarily have to be exercise. I mean, you could play games together. You can, you know, do yoga together or whatever. Just get out of the, you know, like the Zoom meetings, and as we're in one, and you know, and do something fun together that's different and organized, you know. And they made a game out of it, and I think that's huge for kids. If you make it fun for kids and Mom and Dad get involved and do it, then it's going to be great. I think it's easy for parents to just say, go down and do this, right? Why don't you go down and do that? Why don't you? But it's so much better for the kids if you do it with them and get involved. And you need it too. I mean, we all need the exercise, you know?
Yeah.
You know, the couch is just, you know, sucking people in. And I just wanted to put that out there, that get your gym class in. Don't forget that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of help that mental effort. I think the hard thing sometimes is making that transition to it. It's that getting yourself up off, because it feels comfortable just kind of go into the shallow of the couch and fold into it and disappear. But sometimes you need to remind yourself of how good you might feel after. And even if it's not good, it's something different for you. And what have you got to lose? Just try it. I also think when you make the one thing to help you do it is when you have your children do it, say, okay, I need to be on a schedule like they are, and don't think. If you don't think, the feelings don't come in, and then the thoughts about why or why shouldn't I, do I feel not like doing it? Just do it. Set your own schedule. You do that, 30, 40 minutes, it's done. Next thing, and then the benefits are going to be reaped later. So a lot of things are not sometimes about what you feel like doing. It's about just doing it so that you'll reap the benefits later, and there'll be that mental mind shift. That's a great point, though. That's good.
Absolutely.
Any others? We have a few more minutes if anyone wants to stay on. We are going to, we love feedback, feed it in the chat box. We will have a survey sent afterwards, as we always do. Please, please, please provide feedback on how this went. We always, again, if you have any more thoughts or questions in the next minute or two, otherwise you can visit us at wwcma.org. I can provide my contact information at the last one if anyone has any questions or want to speak to me offline individually. Again, really hope that you all try to boost your immunity in different ways. Think of it as your best defense against a lot of things, and that when you trust in your immunity, it will help you see that you can overcome quite a lot, and you're not beholden to external factors, right? You take care of yourself, and it can help, again, a lot with the mental, physical, physiological, and more. I could go on and on and on and on and on. See Terry laughing. So I want to thank you all. I really do appreciate these. Again, next week is our last one. Social Connection will provide a little bit more information on that based on the new, based on what we've all learned about the next couple of weeks. So sorry that was a little vague, but we'll be getting more information to you soon. So again, thank you for joining today, and please don't forget to fill out our survey. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thanks, Kirsten. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good Friday, everyone.
Good Friday.